Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today in the Locher Room. I'm Alan Locher. I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited about today's show. Guiding Light's Kurt and Mindy were one of my favorite couples back in the day. I met these two actors outside of Guiding Light's studio when I was a fan, and I consider myself very lucky to call them my friends. Mark, Krista, and I haven't been together in decades, and I can't wait to catch up with both of them. Please welcome to the Locher Room Mark Lewis, who played Kurt Corday, and Krista Tesreau Strauss, who played Melinda Sue Lewis. Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
I like that you used the full name, Melinda Sue. That's important, I think.
That's right.
It really is. With that name, that is like a pure soap name.
Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I love the name.
Yeah, fantastic. It's like Reva Shane Lewis. You know, it's Melinda Sue Lewis. You know,
Melinda Sue.
It's a good one.
I was excited as a Lewis to marry into the Lewis family. It was pretty exciting. So
yeah, right. I will never forget that wedding. Can we just start talking about that right away?
Yeah. Well, people have been asking me, do not forget to ask about that wedding.
Well, it was probably one of the most beautiful weddings. I mean, I've been married. Well, Mindy, or Tina, or Andy. I've been married so many times, but I think that was my most favorite wedding, if I could say.
It was really cool, and it was so. I think we were both tender-hearted about it in a way that was really great. That really made it work. It felt like a really sort of special day, and we were really invested in it. I thought it was really, cool. It was.
And when you combine it, with our ages at that time, it really was just like, I wasn't acting. It was a fairy tale wedding. Within, like you said, Alan, it was expensive. From the white doves to the white horses and the horse-drawn carriages, and they had the helicopter. They went on location. They spent so much money. And then the dress. The dress. Do you know, at that time, it was considered the most expensive wedding in daytime history.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that fact. It was it was a big deal. I looked sort of like a bellhop, but besides that, I think it was really through the day, and that was hard.
Oh.
I was watching clips, and I was trying to do we know why? I mean, your dress, Krista, was just gorgeous. But Mark, why were the men in those outfits? Like, was that something we?
They were going for the Prince. They were going for the Prince thing. That's all I remember. We were all, the guys were all in those brown sort of. I don't want to say anything.
So much.
Great.
You had all the things all over your.
We had epaulets, and I had a cape that weighed like about 50 pounds. Yeah. And then at one point, they wanted me to run and jump on a horse. There was some sort of a horse situation.
You have to tell that story.
I was not so able to jump up on the horse with a 50-pound cape, and I think that made it on a blooper reel.
That was so funny.
Funny to you maybe.
Well, and I think you were a little afraid. Were you afraid of horses?
I wasn't accustomed to horses, right? So run up and sort of jump up on one like Errol Flynn.
Right.
It's kind of not in my skill set. So I was like, maybe not with the horses.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah. One of our fans asked, that was Katona, New York, right? If anybody remembers?
Yeah.
It was in Katona, and it was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
I mean, all colors and blue sky and
Palomino ponies. It was at the Caramore Estates.
Oh, wow.
And, do you remember the dress ended up being at the Smithsonian Institute for a while?
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And then you remember the one of my flower girls, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I was going to ask you because one of our fans reminded me of that.
Right. And did I tell you I ran into her? And I think I told you this story that I ran into her years later. And it was after she had won, I think, an Emmy for All My Children. And she had just started Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Anyway, I'm at a charity event. And she comes up to me. We make small talk. And then I said, congratulations, and she said, oh, thanks. She said, do you remember me?
Wow.
From All My Children. Yeah. She said, no, before that. And honestly, I don't think I did. And she said, that was one of my first acting gigs.
I had no idea until the fan told me. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. And then she said her mom would make her watch me practice piano in the rehearsal hall. And because her mom wanted her to take piano lessons.
Wow. Oh, so she was on remote, and then she came back for the reception in the studio.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's a pretty good story to have a famous flower girl.
I know. And she's as sweet as can be. Just adorable, you know.
That's so great.
But I love those days. I look back on those days so fondly, and so I just look back at the pictures and it just brings back so many memories.
Mark, do you remember your first day? Well, first of all, did you have to screen test with Krista?
No. I was not. I was a recurring role. It was a recurring role, and I didn't screen test. You know, it was interesting. I don't know that I even screen tested. I think I just read down in that room, but there were a lot of people there. I remember being surprised how many people were there, and you know, you walk into those things and you always look like a you know, the sort of like you're in a fraternity of the best looking guys, you know, in the city of New York. And I never felt like I was one of those guys, you know, and all these really handsome guys. And I thought, well, this is not probably going to be that great. But it was a scene with Roxy, actually, because we met up in, I don't know where.
Yeah. Right. You rescued Roxy when she had an accident.
I like to say I was married 1.5 times, but once was to an ex-hooker. So that was that was the way that it worked.
That's right. I was watching because you rescued her in Alaska when she ran away. Or
I got to hijack an airplane with a spear gun and say, "Get your hands off my wife, or you're a dead man."
Oh my!
I got to have a fist fight with Kyle Sampson in a styrofoam igloo. That was exciting. It was, and it was all like, I never knew if it was going to be like another just day or 2 or 3, right?
Right.
So I never really knew kind of what was going to happen next, and it was exciting. And then to kind of be put into that great story with Philip and Rick and Krista and Christy was really, you know, really great. So
the 80s was some good soap opera storytelling.
I remember when I shot Kyle, because I guess you know, Mindy was I don't know, she had a crush on him and he had a crush on her, and I don't know. And then all of a sudden he says, "Mindy, there's something I got to tell you," you know, and cut to commercial. And he says, "You know, I'm your uncle." And I'm like, and I was Mindy was so upset that she had a gun nearby, and I shot the Picasso paintings, and then I shot the grand piano, and the lid fell. You know, there's a stagehand with the string, and he pulled it. And then I thought that was the end of the bullets, but there was one left, and it accidentally shot him. She didn't mean to.
Oh,
like she didn't mean to set that house on fire.
I didn't mean to burn down the house either.
You didn't mean to burn the house down either. That's right. Kurt worked for Lewis Oil in Alaska.
Yeah, I did. I met my demise on an oil rig.
You did.
Yeah, that was really sad. I remember sitting on the bike at the gym, watching you get the news, Krista, and I thought, you know, she should cry a little more. I don't just quite hard enough, but it all happened really fast, so it was sort of like, well, she didn't have time to prepare.
But
Krista,
you know,
did you screen test?
Did I?
Yeah.
Yes, I screen tested in Los Angeles with Mikey O'Leary, and with 12 Mindys, and then I flew to New York and screen tested with Grant Alexander.
Oh,
but you know what? They narrowed it down to me and this a beautiful brunette girl, and so we were sitting next to each other on the airplane, and I thought, and I had tuned into the show, and I'd heard Judy Evans had just gotten the role of Beth. And we're, you know, both blonde. Judy and I were the same height. We're the same, you know. And I thought, well, surely they're not going to want another blonde. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, Grant Alexander, he was blonde and tall. And I thought, oh, this tall brunette would look beautiful next to Grant, you know. And I thought, there's just no way I'm going to get it. So just take in the experience, appreciate New York City and the screen test, and then I heard the next day, actually.
Yeah.
Which was, I didn't realize that. They told me about a week to 10 days because the test would have to go around to CBS and Procter & Gamble and the executive producer. They said, so when my agent called me that next day and said, how'd it go? And I thought it went well, but I downplayed it and said it went fine. He said, well, you did so bad, I heard. You did really bad. You got the job.
Wow.
And I had to hear it 3 times. From him, because I thought he was kidding. I said, "There's no way. I'll know in a week." And he said, "No, we already heard."
Yes, see, Mark had it came on the easy way with no screen tests. They do that, and then they offer the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was really a day-to-day. Ricky Olshan, my agent, called me in one day. I was supposed to go out of town and do a job, and she said, I don't think you should do this job. I was like, what are you talking about? It's my, I was a regional theater actor, and she said, you're signing a contract on Guiding Light. And I was flabbergasted. I was completely blown away. I mean, it felt.
I remember her name, Ricky Olshan.
Yeah.
I think she repped a lot. I think she repped a lot of people.
Yeah. No, fantastic.
Are you still in touch with her by chance?
I am not. She was Mite and Mary's agent as well for a while. But we've been, New York is, we finally sold our place there and just haven't been, it feels like a long way away. It feels sad to me, but it feels like a long way away.
Yeah.
Was she Mary Ellen's agent before you two met?
You would have to ask Mary that question, but no, okay. I don't think, not before we met. I don't remember exactly how it worked out. Mary would be able to tell us, of course, but I don't remember the sort of the order of things. You know how those are.
So for both of you,
Ricky was a great agent. Ricky, yeah. So, and I still keep in touch with my first agent.
Oh, good.
Which is who?
Oh my God, Von Hart. He's one of my dearest friends.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just saw him a week ago. Yeah. Sweetheart.
That's awesome.
And when I was 18 years old out here, he had started repping Michael J. Fox. And this was before Michael got Family Ties. He had just moved out.
Wow.
I told you that he kind of put us together. He just introduced us. And then Michael and I were hanging out for a while. And then he got Family Ties. He was living in Brentwood. I was living in Westwood. And I would get this call in the morning saying, do you mind giving me a ride to Paramount Studios? Because he didn't own a car. And, and so I'd go pick him up and take him to the studio. And he'd say, why don't you stay and watch? Because it's great environment to learn.
Well, I can tell you the fans are so excited to see you both. They're telling you, Krista, that you're aging backward.
Yeah, that's totally right.
Thank you.
Krista, I know you left St. Louis and went to California before you got Guiding Light, but you were still like 22 when you got Guiding Light, right? Around?
No, I was 19.
Yeah.
So what is it like at 19 moving to New York City by yourself?
Oh my God. So when my agent called and said you got the job and you need to start in 10 days because they had a start date from Indy. And he said, you really need to wrap things up here in Los Angeles and move and get situated ASAP. And I did. The production office helped me a whole lot. They were just so sweet. And who was in the office was Hope Smith at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, she would help me, look at apartments and because I was 19 and I was literally coming off of graduating from an all-girls college prep high school.
Wow.
Were you scared living in New York?
No. You know what?
Awesome.
I was more excited than anything. And just knowing that, what a opportunity, looking back, it was incredible that here you are a teenager and you got this contract. So you're not in New York City unemployed, and, you're going to have a roof over your head, making good money and working.
Right. I guess it's a little scarier when you don't have that contract and the money coming in. Especially in New York, more so than California.
You were so ambitious. I remember seeing Buskers.
Oh, yeah.
You were proud to see Buskers. That play you were doing at night.
Yeah, that's right. That was fun.
Yeah. But you were always eager to use your musical talent, your dancing talent. You know, it was stuff that you didn't get to do on the soap much, but you always had a lot going on that way.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for remembering that. That was a fun musical.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I remember.
And do you know who just Facebooked me was Sasha. Oh golly, her grandfather was a big writer. Wrote. Oh golly, somebody should write in. Now I'm forgetting the name of this. Annie.
Oh, Strauss? No, Charles Strauss?
No, it was Sasha is her name. Not I'm thinking of the actor.
I don't know who you're.
I'll find out later.
Somebody
Tell me if anybody knows.
So, Mark, who or what influenced you on becoming an actor? What was your path?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it was never something that was encouraged in my family. You know, my family was very serious about things in a variety of ways, and I just remember my imagination. The idea that I could imagine worlds and then populate them, right? I was never really the kind of person who would jump up in front of people and entertain them, right? But I always really loved story, and I loved embodying story. And I was always surprised when something would happen and someone would let me work, right? I mean, I remember the luckiest I ever felt was when I moved to New York and I started getting jobs, and I was getting paid like $400 a week to act. I felt like the richest man in America, you know, living in a tiny apartment on 11th and Hudson. And just, I was the one who picked up all the checks because I was actually getting paid to be an actor, right? So it was just everything that happened to me, certainly including something like Guiding Light, just felt like completely out of the blue, right? It was like Christmas. It was like, what? You mean they're going to let me do this story? And I'm going to get to work with these people? And my life has kind of been like that. I mean, as I say, I've been a teacher for a long time. I would have been really probably insulted if you told me when I was working with Krista that I'd be a teacher. But that was just because I was foolish. I ended up having a really good teacher, and it really kind of gave me a vision for my life. But again, just felt like lucky. I sort of felt like I fell into it, didn't plan for it. If I'd planned to teach, I would have listened harder in grad school, I think.
And are you Professor Lewis?
Yeah, my students mostly call me Mark. I'm not really.
You don't like the professor.
That's okay. I don't mind it. It's it's kind of it is sort of what I am. But yeah, I've got terrific students. It's just really, really fun, and for a long time. So.
Yeah, that's incredible. They're lucky students. Krista, go back for you. You started really, 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 really young, right?
Really, really, really young. So like,
not so much acting, just performing.
Yeah,
performing. Yeah,
I kind of look at myself more as a performer than an actor.
What year did you start playing piano? Because fans were asking if you still play, which she does.
I do. It's one of my most favorite hobbies. I just love it. I started, believe it or not, when I was about 2.5. And I'm the youngest of 3 girls. And my oldest sister, Kim, she's 6 years older than I am. I don't know if she's watching, just in case she is.
Hi, Kim. I remember Kim.
And so she would sit me up on her lap. She would be sitting at the piano and sit me on her lap, and she would teach me an octave from C to C. And then I started playing by ear, and I played, I think, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head from the radio. And so my mom, she just said, go stand over there. Do you know what note this is? And I didn't know any better. I would say, yeah, that's a G. Kim taught me that's a G. Little did I know I had a little perfect pitch. So I remember my mom wanted me to take from this gentleman, and he didn't take kids under 5. And I was 4 at the time. And on my 4th birthday. And so he said, no, I'm sorry, I can't take her on. And my mom said, well, she does know her sharps and flats. She knows her notes, and she has perfect pitch. And he was like, okay, I'll take her. I'll try.
Hmm.
And so I remember studying with him and then several other teachers along the way. So, and it was on and off, mostly on. I went through my little teenage time, like, I don't know, actually it was like 12 to 14 that I wanted to do more, play softball and not piano. But I got out of doing the dishes at night. My dad at the dining room table, he would say, how long did you practice? And I would say, some. How much is some? I was going to practice after dinner, Dad. And he said,
You're bringing back memories for me. I remember your tall dad, Paul.
Yes, exactly.
I remember your dad.
Distinguished voice.
I find piano, I think, having that talent is like, you walk into a room and you literally, with that talent, can change everybody's, day, mood. It's a gift. It's amazing. Yeah. I wish I had that. I think it's one of the best talents somebody could really have, because what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What you can do with it.
And the same with singers. I've always said in my next life, I'm coming back as a singer. Because there you really have it with you at all times.
Which one? Who's your favorite?
Oh, golly. I don't have a favorite. There's so many that I like. From Kelly Clarkson to Shania Twain. I love all types of music too, and I love, all types.
You both, Mark, you have 5 children and Krista has 2. Are any of them following in your footsteps of the acting world?
My children are generally pretty embarrassed by their mother and me. We try to keep it on the DL. No, a couple of them kind of have the gift, but they don't. I just don't think that they're going to probably pursue it. It's hard to tell with the little ones, but doesn't seem to be in the foreground for them. But they get a kick out of watching our old. I
was going to ask you if they've gone on YouTube to see.
Yeah, it's a little, it's sort of funny and kind of, it's mostly amusing to them. I don't know. They feel sort of amused by us. So that's good. It's good that we're amusing.
Better amusing than anything. Krista and you, Julia and Michael?
Julia wants to act. And she had a birthday on the 3rd and she turned into a teenager now. But she really wants to act. And so I think I'll give her the opportunity, and so she's very much into her gymnastics, and she loves dancing too, and her TikToks, and anyway, and her Instagram.
Do the schools have theater programs still? I know some arts are taken away, and
they I don't know if they do. She's just not interested though in the actual school plays and musicals. Mm-hmm. So she likes kind of doing her own thing.
Krista, are you guys online in terms of school? Yes,
there? We are.
Yeah.
And you?
Yeah, we have 5 girls in 4 different schools.
Oh, wow.
So our house looks, like a little one-room schoolhouse generally.
Wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have to be honest. Our kids are, it's tough. They're having a lot of issues with it, because there's technical difficulties, or the teacher doesn't have enough time to explain everything. My son says, he has a lot of questions. The teacher won't take questions, and it's tough. And they're struggling actually with it. They'd much rather be in school.
I feel bad generally for, I spend my life around students, and for all of our kids, just trying to grow up, just trying to get to the next place, right? Is really hard. They really do feel like their wings have been clipped, and they just don't get to do the next thing. They don't get to graduate or go to prom or go to grade, or those kinds of things are really tough. And it's been hard on adults in a different way, but I just think for kids, it's really rocked their world. And
is your college online as well?
No, we're actually in person, which is, we go day by day, but I'm teaching Shakespeare mostly outside, but it is Illinois, and that's probably gonna
Change soon.
in these next weeks.
Yeah.
No, we're here, masked and distanced, but still finding ways forward. So that's been good. Expecting to go online at any minute, right? Expecting anybody to say, "Okay, everybody has to go home." We were just kidding. You really can't be here. But so far, it hasn't happened, and we hope to get to Thanksgiving. If we can do that, then there's hope for next semester as well. So we'll see.
Well, Mark, you've talked about your 5 daughters. You adopted 5 girls.
That's
and
right.
You mentioned to me that they changed your life for the better. Can you talk about the experience? And
well, until adoption comes into your vocabulary, you never think, well, what's that going to be like, right? But the moment that you are in the world to make somebody's life better, right? Different than marriage, right? But the second I held my first daughter in my arms, I just thought, wow, I have the opportunity to say, I'm in this human being's corner forever, right? I have a chance to be, a chance to be a dad, and we did it once, and then it was just such a great experience. Mary was just such a fantastic mom to those girls, and that we just thought, we have so much, and we're here in the western suburbs, and we there's always another spot in the minivan. So it just seemed natural. It was really, and that's why I'm an old dad with young kids, just because we were always kind of going like, well, maybe like another one, maybe one more, right?
Wait a minute, old dad.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm an old dad to little kids, right? So yeah, I'm not old like elderly, but I've got a 9-year-old, so that's sort of interesting. But no, I'm a kid.
How old are you?
I will be 64 in February.
No,
you will not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You
look like you're 50.
Yeah.
No,
it's because I never worry.
Oh, you were rocking the cradle with Melinda Sue Lewis.
I totally was. Yeah, it was funny because Krista really always brought that, a lot of energy, a sort of a perspective on life that was always open and positive, right? And you were the veteran. I was like the rookie, but I was 27 or 28, right?
Yeah.
So I had done other kinds of things, and this was kind of like, wow, I didn't think this was going to happen, right? So that's kind of how it happened. It happened for me, and it was just so unusual.
What did you learn from Krista from working with her?
Well, I said before we went on camera, I've always wanted to see Krista. I haven't seen you, Krista. I mean, we haven't talked since I left the show. I don't think.
Right.
I don't think.
Can you guys believe that? It's been this many years.
34 years.
Not saying. Yeah. No, but I was just always. Krista was always generous, right? Always looking to have a good time. She was feeling the same pressure that everybody else was feeling, but. I got to say, and we worked with good people. I mean, Michael O'Leary makes every room he's in better, keeps everybody loose. We had a lot of people who took the work seriously, kind of in the right way, right? So it's just a great group to fall in among. And Krista was just right in there. She just was always like helping me out, telling me to stay out of her light. That was that.
I told you what?
Stay out of your light, that kind of helpful direction from your co-star, which is good.
That's so funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
No, it was, when I worked with, my memory today is just like losing me. Who was the little girl that went on to play Nashville?
Hayden
Panettiere.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, and she played my daughter on One Life to Live.
One Life to Live, yeah.
And I told her about that one scene we did, and she just said, and she was 6 at the time, and she played Sarah, and I had CJ and Sarah, and I'm like, guys, can you just go play in the other room, and Daddy and I need to talk or something, and we'd have a little back and forth, and the camera went on her, and all of a sudden the stage manager said, cut, And he goes up to her and he says, Hayden, honey, your line is, okay, mommy, I love you, or whatever. And she said, I know my line. I was waiting for my red light to go on.
Nice.
And right then I thought, wow.
Yeah.
She knows her lights.
Yeah.
She knows that red light. And she was always real sweet, but I took note of that.
That's a good story. Hey, Krista, who helped guide you when you first walked into the doors at Guiding Light? Did somebody take you under their wing?
I'm going to say everybody did. I started working with Robert Newman and and Grant. I remember, do you remember Ed Gellar, the photographer?
Yeah.
He passed away not long ago. He was always at the studio taking photos but Grant and Judy, we would just always hang out, and Michael O'Leary, we were just friends off camera. And let me see, Maeve Kincaid was always giving me little advice here and there, so I would say
Maeve just became a grandma not too long ago.
Oh, I want to call Maeve. I haven't talked to her in a while. I saw her in New York last November. It was great seeing her. Yeah. And let's see. But I would say everybody was just so generous to me and giving me advice.
Yeah, there was a lot of kindness. There really was. Mm-hmm. I from the directors on down. I mean, I still remember working with Bruce Barry, who was just like stand there in the morning, and he kind of let you know that he had all the shots, but he also sort of was watching what you would do, and he'd have his pencil out, and he'd erase something and write something else in, right? Yeah. He was always just relaxed and letting you know that he had it. It was going to be great.
He could go with the flow. Totally. He was just really even keel and so easygoing.
Yeah, right.
You can't ask for more than that in a director.
Yeah, and I've directed a lot since then. And one of the things I always think about Bruce, because part of what you're trying to do is make a place where actors feel welcome, comfortable, like they don't have to be perfect, right? Like you're really glad they're there, And Krista, you have worked probably with directors who do that and directors who have not done that, right? And the difference of the product is it's very, very different. The process is more fun, but the product is also better if you let actors know that you care about them, that you trust them, that they're well cast, those kinds of things.
Every now and then, I don't know who told me this, we used to have two different studios at CBS. The morning studio and then the afternoon studio, and there would be two different crews. So we would have to be all finished with all of our scenes. Otherwise, they would have to be paid overtime. Right. And so every now and then, the director would come up to me and say, I hate to do this. We have to get this on one take. It's 3 minutes to 12. And if we go even a minute over 12, the union is going to have us pay overtime. So places, please.
Yeah, right. Right.
You had to do it.
Yeah.
Mark, do you remember when Kurt had to go save Beth with Larkin Malloy and Vincent Rosario on the tanker? It was Liz Taylor's son, Michael Wilding.
Right. And he had the eyes, the Liz Taylor, those beautiful eyes. Michael, he was another really decent person to work with. What I remember about that, the character of Largo was played by an old friend of mine, Gary Sloan, who was somebody I knew from way before soap opera days, and he was sort of this big villain. I remember company, and sort of made us all really nervous. But I remember. I remember a little bit about it. I never worked with Vincent very much. I didn't work with Judy very much. Those were all sort of a separate. It was sort of a separate track. So I didn't get to see them much, but I do remember Michael, and I just remember what a good guy he was. Is I don't know his life, but
he's still
good. Yeah,
he's a good egg.
Yeah, right, and and somebody who grew up with a lot of different kinds of pressure on him, right? So it, Yeah, I think that a lot. I mean, Guiding Light wasn't a perfect environment at all. I worked a little on As the World Turns later. Not a perfect environment, but a lot of really good people, right? Really
talented bunch of people.
Yeah. I always think about soaps. The thing is, it's good people, and you have to be good because you have to work so fast. From the writing on down, those people are working so fast.
That's right.
And so people who are really, really good at it, it's because they're talented enough to be able to turn out product on all levels really, really quickly.
I remember one time the show would often be long on time, and they would make little cuts here and there, and edits, and to bring it in on time, which I believe was 44 minutes, less commercials. So one episode, I was the last scene, and I believe it was with Michelle Forbes.
Yeah.
And they said, we're running super short on the show.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, okay. And they said, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and they're cranking out the pages right now. The writers are writing it. And that was very unusual. And they gave us 5 pages, like on a 5-minute break, and said, you really just need to like talk slow, just fill that time,
I did like that too, where they were handing us pages on the set.
Yeah.
And
exactly. And I had coffee, another cup of coffee right off set.
I would have sweat pits.
I did. I totally did.
Yeah.
Krista, they should have given you a piano. They should have given you a piano.
Give me a piano, right.
It would have been great.
Exactly.
You've done it.
Uh-huh.
Talk about, what do you remember about working with Michelle Forbes?
Oh, she was great. I honestly didn't work with her a lot. She was always just so sharp as a whip, and witty, very witty.
I think you worked with her close to the end before you left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before you left.
Exactly.
Krista, the 80s, as I was watching clips this week of you and that hair must have taken hours on end. And I watched yesterday the Lou Jack Out in the Street video.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
And it was all different colors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
It would have to be up to here. Well, here's the thing. They would do my hair and they would just tease and tease and tease. I'm like, why are we teasing so much? But that was it. And then literally like a half a can of hairspray. And I remember one time being up on set and I could see my reflection in a like a hutch. There'd be the windows in them. And I could see this helmet hat. I look like a huge lion's mane, and I'm trying to push it down. And all of a sudden from way across the studio, I hear the hairstylist go, ah, ah, ah. Like, I'm like, oh God.
You could like put your eye out on the hair because it was.
Totally.
I mean, it was
right.
It was not to be messed with.
Stiff.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that shoot? It was wasn't it New Jersey, like Weehawken?
Yeah, Weehawken and Hoboken. I think both. Yeah, though that was fun, and the director was Matthew Diamond. And he's since gone on and has directed so many sitcoms and documentaries. And I ran into him when I went to the funeral of Gail Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's been a while already. But it was great to see him and his wife. And, yeah.
So Mark, tell the story of meeting Mary Ellen at Guiding Light and what the makeup artist.
Yeah, we had a mutual friend, and Mary was doing a show on Broadway called Song and Dance, and she was kind of a big deal, but she'd never done a day of TV before. And we had this mutual friend, so I thought, oh wow, it's my chance to talk to this beautiful woman. And I went in and said, hey, we've got a mutual friend, and she sort of blew me off. That's not how she says it, but she said she was super nervous because it was her first day of television, right? And then she came back and she played Detective Jenny Holmes with Terrell. Anthony. And then, of course, went on to do As the World Turns
Franny.
It's Franny, yeah. And that was, but we met, and I said to, or my friend said to me, this mutual friend we had that was doing song and dance with her, she'd really like to go out with you. She really thinks you're. I was like, what, really? So I was kind of scared, but then I called her backstage at the Royale Theater and said, hey, it's Mark Lewis. And she said, Mark Lewis. And I thought, oh boy, this is not going that well. Yeah, she's, so 34 years of marriage.
Wow.
So that's kind of awesome. And I think, like a lot of young people, the sort of the idea in New York was, you get married the first time, it's kind of a practice, right? It's not like gonna really, and she was young and we were under a lot of pressure. But our marriage survived it. We were really, here we still are. And
she's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love Mary Ellen.
I haven't seen her in so long.
Me too.
I know, she's always beautiful and super sweet. And
yeah.
That's how I remember her.
The one thing I think the pandemic has taught all of us, that we've picked right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It gets a little, it gets a little hairy around our house on certain days, but yeah, it's it's been.
You have a house of 7. That would be hairy.
And a dog. 3 cats.
And a dog.
3 cats and a dog.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
oh my God. Mark, one of our fans said that they were talking about Mary Ellen on a reunion about Carrie the musical because she turned down a part.
Yeah,
so it was a recent reunion that was online, and they were talking about Mary Ellen.
Yeah, that was a big deal because they offered her like all this stuff. I mean, it was a flat in London and name above the title and all this. And I remember reading the script and my heart just sunk. And I said, honey, I just don't think this is going to go. I just don't think it's very good. And she was like, well, you got to be kidding me. All these really great people, Terry Hand from the RSC is directing it and all this stuff. And I just said, finally I said, do you really want your parents to see you do this? Right. And she went and told her agent that she wasn't going to do it. And it was really hard to turn down, but we went and saw it opening night. And it's a legendarily, with really good people, Betty Buckley, Lindsay Hatley, really good people, really bad musical, really, really bad. The death scene at the end, which is supposed to break everybody's heart, the audience was laughing hysterically at the ending, and we just walked through the theater. Whoa, that was not meant to be.
Yeah,
but it was hard to turn down. You don't get opportunities like that.
I'm sure.
So yeah, I was glad she made that decision, but it was hard at the time for sure.
Can you share Larry Gates stories? And Mark, you can share that PG wise.
Yeah, no, Larry, as he was a font of advice, right? If he liked you, he would say things to you like, he always had a chair over in a little corner of the studio, and he'd say, sit down between takes. It's too long a day. You got to sit down, right? And then he'd say, I'm too goddamn old to be doing this. And the only reason I can do it is because, I sit down between takes, right? He was just so, and then you go see the Sand Pebbles with Steve McQueen, and there's Larry Gates, right? I mean, he was this, he just, again, had the right perspective on it. And always willing to be generous, always willing to talk about his experiences. I mean, Krista, you knew him much better than I did, but.
No, but it's everything you're saying was Larry.
Yeah.
What did you learn from him, Krista? And did you realize when you got there, you started to learn as you got to know him?
Yeah, I think I got to learn a little more as I went on, but I could tell right away he was seasoned, but yet so understated.
Yeah.
And here I am at 19 years old, and I didn't have grandparents, and he just immediately, he became my grandfather, so I just felt like an instant love and an instant connection with him. And
that could make me cry just right away. Because I think he was anybody who watched, he was all of our we all wanted HB as our grandfather.
Yeah, and there was a certain thing with both Larry and with Jordan Clark. They were really protective of you, Krista. They were super protective. I was kind of this who knew who I was, right? This guy who wandered into the story, but they were like, no kidding, very, 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 very protective. And I was sort of like, hey, I just work here. I'm not, you know.
They probably, I mean, when I started the show, I was so green and I was so naive.
Yeah.
Really, and so young that I felt that too. And so I felt like I just came into an instant family.
Yeah, right.
So, and Larry would always just tell me, oh, don't worry about this. Just go out and do it. Just don't think about it.
Right.
Because you know what? There's nothing we can do now because right now. And, his attitude was just like, a walk on the street that, that easy. And that easy he came across too.
Well, learning to trust yourself as an actor, which is spend my life talking to young actors. And it's a really hard thing to learn. And especially, there's a lot of pressure on us as young people in that environment. There were always like 15 people who wanted your job. And, never knew like what was going to happen day to day. But just sort of trusting yourself, learning to let it be good enough was really, really hard. And some of us were better at it than others. I wasn't ever particularly good at it. But to watch somebody who had confidence and knew it was going to be all right was.
And I do think when I met both of them, I just so genuinely loved both of them. I mean, loved so many different things about Jordan and Larry and their personalities. We clicked.
Yeah.
So the chemistry was there from day one that I felt like we were just being ourselves.
Right.
The entire Lewis family really did have that chemistry.
Yeah, right.
Robert, the entire Lewis family had that chemistry.
Yeah.
Robert, Kim, Jordan, Larry, Maeve, all of you together really made that family. Hey, Mark, what did you take from Guiding Light that you teach your kids, your students?
It's a great question. It's so many things. Krista, this will be about the time for you to insert your autograph story. You go from being just a person to standing in line at a grocery store and looking over and seeing yourself with this beautiful blonde on the cover of Soap Opera Digest. That's weird, right? That's like, how did that happen to me? You learn something about celebrity. People treat you differently, right? And I always thought, as a young actor, I always thought, boy, I want to be famous. I want people to see me and recognize me. But you learn it's a kind of a mixed bag, right? It's not always the most life-affirming thing to be recognized. And I learned that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. If you get into it for the celebrity and the money, it's just not a very good reason to do it. I don't think. I mean, some people make it that way, but I say to my students, if you're counting on being better loved because you're famous, you're probably not going to be more loved. You're probably not going to feel that way. But Krista, can you tell your story? It's just a funny one, and if you're willing,
wait, no, two of them come to mind.
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, the most embarrassing place you were ever asked for an autograph. It has to do with a piece of wood.
Forgot
in your body.
That place. Okay. Well, one was Rite Aid, and that was the Michael O'Leary walking down memory lane. I'll save that one for a minute.
Yeah.
This one, I was on the show for just a short amount of time, maybe several months, and that was it. And so I was on the phone talking with my sister one night, and I was sitting on my parquet floor, wooden floor, and I go to get up, and all of a sudden, I'm in immense pain. I got splinters in my behind, and not just one. I got so many splinters in my, and I couldn't, this is so embarrassing. I couldn't get them out. And I was trying to do this, twisty to get them. Anyway, so I thought, who am I going to call? I don't know anybody. I don't have any friends here. I'm going to have to call like my Guiding Light family. So I call Hope Smith, who at the time was a production assistant working in the office. I'm like, Hope, I hope I didn't wake you, first of all. I know it's like 9:30 at night, but I have a little predicament here. And so just explaining that to her was so embarrassing. And I said, I don't know what to do. It's swelling up. My butt is swelling up. And she's coming over. And so she comes over. She goes, we have to go to the hospital. This is pretty bad. And so I go to the hospital. And, here I am on my stomach, laying down on this bed with them picking at my butt, so embarrassing. And as they're doing this, one of the nurses says, oh my God, Mindy, is that Mindy? And I'm like, oh my God, if this isn't so embarrassing. And they're like, hold on a minute. Can I have your autograph? I'm sitting there on my stomach giving an autograph. That was very embarrassing.
So you're people in lives, right? And your people don't respond to you in quite the same way. And sometimes it's fun, but sometimes it's not fun. If you're having a bad day or you're going through a bad stretch, it can be painful, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Honestly, I always appreciated fans. Even on my worst days, I will say I was always grateful I had them, Yeah. And I look back now and I think, thank God I wasn't like this raging biatch, to any fans. I hope. I don't think so. But
never.
But anyway, I remember
maybe some people are more temperamentally suited to it than others. I think that's part of it too.
Definitely. Yeah. Mark, would you talk about, because a lot of fans are sort of asking, because Kurt and Mindy were incredibly popular. They loved that couple.
Yeah.
And they were heartbroken when it just sort of ended and you were killed on the oil rig.
Yeah, I was a little bit heartbroken. What had happened, I'd signed a brand new contract, which was good. And in the contract, it said that I could go to Portland, Oregon, and do a play with some old friends of mine in a little theater in Portland. And it was kind of a big deal for this theater because they were bringing this guy from New York, and it was all my old friends. And at the same time, Gail Kobe left the show and Joe Wilmore came on. And Joe called me into his office and we started to talk. I didn't know him at all. And he said, I don't think you should go and do that play. And I said, well, it's in my contract that I can do it. And I said, and all my friends are counting on me. I'm supposed to, all the publicity is done. It's not good for them if I don't do it. And he says, well, if you do it, you might not have a job when you come back. And I took a big, deep breath. I mean, that was a moment of a big, deep breath where I said, like, okay, wow. And I remember being both shocked and also just feeling like, well, maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Maybe there's something else that I'm supposed to be doing. And it had nothing to do with, I was very happy, certainly working with Krista and with the people, but I didn't know I just didn't know. I was young. I had met Mary Ellen. I just didn't know what the future held. So I decided to stick with my commitment. I went to Portland, did the play, and sure enough, there I was on the oil rig getting blown up.
But that sticking by your friends is, what good people do.
Well, and look,
especially making a commitment. You made a commitment.
Yeah, that just in my life. I mean, I've had
they made a commitment too.
Yeah, right.
That's right. I made a commitment too.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was okay. And look what came out of it. I mean, I have had a life that has been so rich. I started with my acting mentor, Michael Howard, after that, and got a vision for teaching, and then got this job at this little college. And I came here for a year, and I've been here for 25, right? And this is my life, right? Mary would say the same thing. Our life didn't end up being in New York. We always thought it would be. We had a beautiful home on 22nd Street that came to us in a kind of a miraculous way. but we wouldn't have our family if we hadn't left New York. There was no way that our family would be our family, and that's really turned out to be the blessing of our life. I mean, we are so grateful to be in the life we're in, right? And that all happened probably because I wasn't such a great actor on the soap. Who knows?
Well, you both know my good friend, who you've both met, Debbie Walsh, reminded me that we were invited to your wedding, and I'm so mad we never. we were probably too poor to fly and come to your wedding. There's a fan, Mark, who said they had the pleasure of meeting you at the Speed Fest up in upstate New York.
I remember.
I don't know if you remember going there.
Yeah, always those appearances. I was one of those guys that was somewhere every weekend just because it was so fun to get on an airplane, and and to those back corridors at malls that you get really, really familiar with. That was a great experience. Krista, you and I did quite a few things.
Oh yeah, we did. I enjoyed every one of them.
Yeah, it was fun. You were a fun travel companion. So,
that's right. Yeah.
And Krista, a fan mentioned, Seamus mentioned this to me. I don't remember this. Were you supposed to be part of the first AIDS story on Guiding Lights?
AIDS story?
Yeah.
None that I know of.
Not that I was aware of. Somebody thought somebody must have, maybe that was Guiding Light's intent, but maybe they never shared it with you. I don't know. I never heard it either.
My friend Eric Sheffer-Stevens was part of one of those on As the World Turns, part of a gay storyline.
Hank story? Maybe Hank. I can't think who played Hank on As the World Turns at that time. Hank Elliott was the actor.
I know Eric was a big deal and one of the first, I think, gay storylines on As the World Turns. Lamont Goodell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, somebody just said when Mindy got the news of Kurt's death, she was unable to cry.
Yeah, totally, Krista. Come on. Seriously.
I wasn't Judy Evans. She could cry on a
little bit
dime.
like easy come, easy go,
Right. I told the writers too, I'm like, you know what? I can't cry on a dime.
Yeah.
Like Judy, that is a talent.
Judy and Zimmer.
Yeah,
and Kim, right. But I said, give me more comedy. Give me more of the comic relief. I preferred that by far.
Yeah. My wife Mary is a good crier too. She was in tears a lot on As the World Turns. Once they find out your friend, they write it in a lot.
Yeah.
I think your friend Eric played a character towards the end of World Turns, maybe.
Yes, I think that's true.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Reed. His name was Reed.
No.
Yeah.
And what is Mary doing now, besides being a mom?
Being a mom is a huge part of her life. I don't think she feels, this was somebody who was the most ambitious person I think I'd ever met. I mean, Krista, you're pretty ambitious, but she was always afraid to leave New York for a weekend.
Oh, wow.
She was afraid she might miss something, right? And the first time I ever saw her hold one of our daughters in her arms, I mean, she just looked at me and said, "This is what I was meant to do. This is the thing I was meant to do."
I can relate to that.
She loved her career, like you, Krista. A lot happened to her when she was young, right?
Yeah.
And sort of feels like she spent her 30s recovering from her 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And but she really has settled in to a really active life here in Wheaton. She really loves it and never has missed it. I mean, she was in the original pre-Broadway production of Chicago. She could have done that, and she didn't sign the contract because she didn't want to be away from me, which is weird.
Yeah.
It really it's been a blessed life and a different life than either of us thought we would have, right?
Sure.
Hasn't turned out at all.
Yeah. And likewise, I haven't really acted in many, many years. And I always thought, if I don't act, I feel like I've had so much success with acting, and that I felt happy in what I've done. And the first time holding my kids, oh my God, indescribable. That if anybody ever told me that I would love to this extent to the depths of, I would have had kids sooner because I just adore my kids and my husband.
Both of you had your children later in life. Both of you.
Yeah.
Both
exactly.
of you.
I was 41 and almost 44. I give those women in their 40s, I guess, a little hope that you can still have kids in your 40s. I didn't get married till I was 40, you know. And, so, and then, you know, and my mom is living with us. She'll be 92 years old, and she came with 2 cats. And then we already have 2 Siamese. So we have actually 4 cats. And, we have this little guy. This is Snuggie. And Snuggie's our rescue. And then we just got another little one. Paris. Hold on. You got to see Paris.
Wait, so Krista, your 40s have to be your best.
Oh, my God. It's fantastic. And this is Paris. And she's a little Maltese. And she's just a doll baby. Teal. So, I mean, we have a full house here. And I love every day. It's such a different chapter in our lives, you know? And like 2 different lives, you know, because after I finished acting, you know what fell in my lap was hosting infomercials. And that was quite a bit in my 30s, like later 30s. And I was hosting so many of those, and it was fun. And you know what? It allowed me to have more of a social life because I didn't have much of a social life on the soaps and that schedule, you know, and then we were traveling on weekends. So I would shoot these infomercials like a commercial, like 2 days. And then I could just sit back and, you know, they'd give me the quarterly residuals. And I had several of these going at a time. Okay, I'm going to develop, you know, my friendships, my sporting, you know, scuba diving. I just really, and then met Glenn on a blind date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, I was going to ask that. I couldn't remember. I'm glad you said that. The other thing I remember about you, Krista, when we, you know, first became friends, when I was a fan of the show, you were like so smart because you had saved your money, used your money, and bought a New York City apartment. You know,
okay, so it was smart, and then it wasn't smart. Okay, but you know, hindsight's 2020. You know, I bought my first, and Lisa Brown was the one. Lisa Brown, she gave me the advice. She said, look, I think you're going to be here for a while. Buy an apartment. Huh. And then I had an accountant who always told me that, you know, Manhattan is an island and real estate value, it can only go up. It can just only go up. So what did I do? I bought 3 places in New York City, 2 condos and a co-op. Well, then I left the show. And I guess that was in 89. But do you remember Black Monday in 1987 stock market crash? Real estate tanked after that. So in 89, shortly after I said bye-bye to the show, and I shut the door, which was a mistake in retrospect. I didn't leave it open a little. I should have, you know, and then and Pam even called me after Pam Long. She called me after I came to LA after like 4 months saying, come on back. Come on. I've got a storyline. And I'm like, no, I can't just come out here for 4 months and blah, blah, blah. Wow. She goes, okay, do you mind if I recast? And I'm like, no, I don't mind at all. And so she had my blessing to recast. And then literally months later, the real estate tanked. I was so stressed over that because I had 3 mortgages, 3 maintenances, and then my rent. Los Angeles, it was a lot and not working, but I was trying to bust my butt out there trying to work and doing a few things here and there. And that's when my mom called me at 4 a.m. and said, your dad had a massive heart attack and died. And that was in 1989, the same year. I mean, and I guess, and then a gentleman, you know, came by and put his arm around me and sounds like a soap opera. We got married for a short bit. It was a big mistake. And then, and I let my apartments just go. Which was just not good. You know, I felt like I had all this great success with Guiding Light and professionally. And the minute I left it, so much bottomed out for me. And
that's not your fault at all. I mean,
no,
that's not.
And it really wasn't, because I do agree with you, Alan. I felt like I I saved and I tried to do the right thing, and I wish I had known my husband, Glenn, back then. He's a financial
He's smart. Yeah.
He's a financial advisor. So I guess maybe put too many eggs in one basket. I shouldn't have bought 3. And, but so I felt like even though like Meg Ryan and Marissa Tomei, they were catapulting their careers right at that time into film and, and I just felt like I just needed to work, and that's when a couple of years later, I went on Santa Barbara, and thank God,
Right.
It
Well,
just
that's like,
got me out.
Mary Ellen took Julianne's job, Julianne Moore's job.
Right, that's right.
She replaced her.
Yes.
Yeah, and again for Mary, a soap was not a thing. I mean, she was a Broadway person. That was her life.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody gives her this great opportunity, but she grew up on the soap. She, her first when you have not had much acting training and you are thrust into a big part on a soap, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of people watching you and trying to learn on the job.
Right.
And she did great. And when you watch her from the first days to the last days, I mean, she was killer at the end of
she was a perfect replacement. But it's like Krista joining as a Lewis. She joined as a Hughes family. She was like a major player.
Well, Kristen, it's similar. There's a parallel too, because Mary was told at one point you could have this job for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
if you're a young person, talented like you, and you're thinking maybe there's more for me. Maybe there's something else I could do.
Right.
A lot of things that are I can do. I know I can play Mindy. I mean that's in my talent, right? But maybe there's other things that I can do, and I can grow as an artist, and I can have other experiences.
Well, and that's why in my contract I had to pilot out for 2 years. I believe in 1980, 87, 88.
Yeah.
And came to LA. But then all the actors wanted to pilot out, and I get it. The writers then said no more pilot outs. Either you're here or you're not, and that was it. And they said it's got to be cut and dry. We're not giving any time off.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what led me to my decision. Okay, I've been through 3 contracts now, and I kind of want to just go to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, Los Angeles was the right choice, though. Look at your life.
Right. Honestly, you look at all your right turns and left turns in life, and it leads you to where you are now. Mm-hmm. And I don't regret any one of them. And I've learned a lot, from them.
Yeah.
In fact, they say that. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that they say that all of your, I don't want to say mistakes, but all of your experiences, good and bad, particularly not as good, help shape you.
Well, what leads to wisdom? If you're talking about how we become wise, we never become wise through good times.
Yeah.
Right. And the bad times are what make us. I mean, they either they make you or they break you, right? But you certainly are changed by them. Right?
Exactly.
You don't hold life in the same way.
Right. And then I had when I got back on Santa Barbara, I got back on my feet. Things were good. Then it was a sinking show, and that was in 92. And then when it went off the air, here I was not working. And then I was living in Sherman Oaks, and I was in the 94 earthquake. And oh my God, I got devastated. I was living on one of the top 5 worst hit streets.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, my mom woke up to the radio at 6:30 in the morning, her time, 6:35, which was 4:35. And I'll never forget, it was January 17th at 4:31 in the morning. And my mom hears this news, and they made it seem so much like, like California basically went into the Pacific Ocean. Yeah. I mean, like, it's like way off an island now. And my mom, and they said worst hit streets, and they said Dickens and Willis. And I lived on Willis, and my mom heard my street. And then she couldn't get a hold of me. But, and I had structural damage, had 3 days to get out. And here I am homeless. I mean, I was, I stayed with a friend until I got a little place. And so, I mean, there again, Mark, we're talking about just ups and downs. It really can it tests you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Krista, you seem like a resilient, you've seemed like a resilient person 30 years ago.
No.
But resilience is really something that I can see in your character and in your face right now.
I mean, well, you know what? If I did get that, it probably from my mom. My mom, a real survivor.
Yeah.
You know, and even more than a survivor, as Mary Tyler Moore said, like a flourisher.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I was going to ask you, did you get to work with Mary Ellen at World Turns?
Yeah, Doug Marland, so sweetly. I came on as her ex, which was really interesting, Sean Baxter. And her last day on the show, we had a scene together. And I got to say, whoever ends up with you is one damn lucky guy.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, so that, it was that was a different experience. I knew a little more about myself and about the work than I did on Guiding Light. It felt different. It was fun.
Did you enjoy it at World Turns?
Yeah, I mean, again, another group of great people, but I wasn't really part of the family at World Turns.
Right.
At Guiding Light, at least, I was a contract player who was, people were. I had some story and some good things happening. And when you're a recurring part on a thing like World Turns, everybody's set in their ways. Everybody has their relationships. Your wife is kind of a big deal on the show, so you sort of try to stay out of her way. And that was sort of the deal. It was fun. It was just different. It was different. But a good experience. Again, so many talented people. I mean, many people that are that I think of. Who people think of them as daytime television stars, which they are, but there's talent there. They could have done a lot of things that were not daytime television. It was just the thing that again, you get into it, right, Krista? And the thing that is paying your rent or buying you 3 houses. But you get into it, and that's the thing you can do. But you have a lot of talent that was not being utilized on the soap, right? And so it's hard not to think like, well, there's a lot of other things I can do. It's just not just Mindy Lewis. I can do a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
And that's hard. You didn't get into it. You didn't get into this to be on a soap opera, right?
Right. But, I never watched a soap opera. And by the way, when I screen tested, Susie Pratt was also screen testing, and the only soap I saw for a short bit when I got home from school, my mom would be watching General Hospital. And I was like, I had a little crush on Rick Springfield. And so watching Rick Springfield, I would watch Nurse Annie Logan.
Susie Pratt. I just had Susie on.
Yeah.
What's that?
I just had Susie and Jay Hammer on the show.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah. I'll have to go back and watch it. And she's so beautiful. And so she was sitting there, and I remember being starstruck, saying, "Oh my God, Nurse Annie Logan, of all people." Okay. But no, I never watched soap operas.
Right.
And it's just
so funny.
An actor, you just whatever comes up, and then
Yeah.
Krista, people were asking, have you talked to Judy?
Do you know? No, I've left her a few messages, and a few times I called. I know she was just either prepping for surgery, and I didn't realize, and so I think just timing. But I did talk to her one time, and
she seems to be doing better.
Yeah.
I think she was back up on a horse too, which is fantastic. She had an accident, Mark.
Right. Yes.
She had an accident.
Oh.
Well, this has been a very fun hour for me. I hope you two have had a good. I mean, it brings back many happy memories. Here,
I gotta take a quick picture here. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Look at your camera.
I don't know how to do this. So
Oh, let's do it again.
Hey, your girls can teach you, Mark. I'm sure they know all the tech.
Oh yeah, they got it all going on for sure. They do.
They got it all going on. Well, please say hello to your wife for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Say hello to Glenn.
I will.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, both of you, for doing this. Stay here for a minute. I'll sign off and we can say goodbye.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you tomorrow when we do a show focusing on bullying with Stomp Out Bullying Organization. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. Oops. What's happened? Sorry about that.